All right. Cool. Let's see. All right. So for the most part, right, this entire, well, before that, let's get into this. Right. Very strong weekly closure. Right. Pretty much with very heavy momentum. Right. We've essentially closed right around our previous intraday, or you could even call it a swing high. Right. And you guys know I'm not convinced, right, that this has been distribution. Right. It doesn't make sense. Right. Usually like to see distributions be in a relative range, whereas this looks more like a flag. Right. And we've covered that for a couple weeks now. So the pretty much the catalyst that was either gonna, invalidate my bias or validate my bias, right, was definitely this area here. Right. So notice we essentially struggled, right, gave weird price action before giving a impulsive move to the downside, meaning, right, that there's probably money stuck here, right? So this automatically becomes an area price will return to. Now, whether we reject or we go through it, right, that just depends on the overall narrative, right? So we can see, right, there's a lot of intraday moves. There's a lot of intraday moves here, right? And we can go through every single move, right? Break of structure, intraday continuation, right? Point of interest, break of structure, continuation, and then continuation, point of interest, continuation, right? We can go about that all day, every day, right? But at the end of the day, right, if it doesn't fit your overall bias, right, yes, you'll catch some very good moves, but in the end, you'll catch yourself overtrading and essentially taking unnecessary losses. Right. So when in doubt, zoom out. Right. I've been a big, that's something that I've been big on since release. Right. And for the most part, right, look at our structure. Right. Look at our structure. Look at our entire narrative that we're about to. I'm going to just quickly go over this one time. Right. Looking into, I believe it's a weekly, right? We can consider this a weekly inefficiency fill. Right. You remember back when Corona started. Right, we were in lockdown here in the United States. I'm sorry, wrong time frame. Right, if you're looking at this price action, right, during this time I was bearish the entire time, right, and then here was that monthly open, and then here is that weekly inefficiency or monthly 50%, right, and so this is where we started to rally upwards, right, and the reason why I was very bullish after this, right, was because of where this point rejected from. It didn't reject from a point of interest in my eyes, right? From here, this would have been my point of interest because this is where the entire final leg, this is the entire move. That's pretty much where the entire move started, right? That's what I'm trying to say, right? Liquidity grab here and a continuation all the way. So all these moves, right? This is a continuation, mitigation of the continuation, right? And then it's all just mitigation, continuation, right? Meaning that there's liquidity above the initial continuation and there's weekly inefficiency here, right? So the fact that we didn't come back and mitigate up here, right? This is now a meaningless high to me, so it's now liquidity, right? So the catalyst here, right, that pretty much ruined the entire bias, right? A lot of the old Visionaries members know this, right? I don't like how we stalled here and continued, and then we broke that area, right? Because in theory of continuation, right, I'd love to see that, right? But if that breaks, right, that now gives me an unwillingness to continue higher, and if we're not going to go higher, we're going to go lower, right? Just trying to make it as simple as possible, right? So we took out that liquidity, this happened, right? We have an impulsive reaction, potential POI here, right? So the pullback failed to create a lower low, right? So this is now considered a higher low, right? This higher low did not create a higher high, so this is now considered liquidity, right? So that liquidity is taken, right? And now this low does take out your structure here, right? This is now a range I want to play inside of, right? Keep in mind the entire bias is bullish because in theory, right, if we're in in actual schematic, right, we're going to see a very big move, right? And I've always brought this example up. Where is it at? Move this. Right? Clearest example ever. Massive accumulation, massive move, right? And I'm going to touch back onto this principle, but I'm just showing you guys the example, right? So in theory, if this is an accumulation, we should easily take out these highs within the next couple of years, right? And if we even break this high, we're now considered in bullish structure because we had an unwillingness to continue lower here compared to this low, and we've now taken a structure point, right? And then your next obstacle would definitely be up here, right? But if we come back up here, right, we now have essentially structure supporting us. So I would love to then see that these highs be tested, right? But that's all with time. That's not going to happen anytime soon, right? Unless you somehow see a 600, 700 pip move again, like we did with Rona, but it actually holds. All right, so coming back into our swing time frames, right? So our continuation happened inside of this range, right? Which then led here, then one final pullback for then the continuation here, right? So you could have considered this entire move an accumulation based off of theory, right? Because we had a point of interest, right? We had the conversion of supply to demand, right? And then created an impulsive reaction to the upside, right? So this entire time, right, we're creating bullish structure, right? So in theory, right, after a quote unquote reaccumulation, you now have a structure break, right? This is a very major structure break. This is a weekly structure break, right? Because this weekly high created that final low. Once that is broken, you're now looking at a very bullish market, right? So when you break this down, right, we've now broken bullish structure, and now I've literally seen so many posts about this being distribution, and it doesn't make sense because think about it, right? If we're seeing a massive distribution in play, we're going to see a massive sell-off, right? Just like here on a monthly, we're going to see a massive move if there's a big accumulation. So in theory, if there's a big distribution, we're going to see a big bearish move, right? But it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit the narrative that we're potentially explaining here, right? If looking at a weekly bias, we've already taken out our weekly structure, right? Meaning any impulse to the downside, even if it's considered a swing, it's considered a pullback, right? Not only that, we've already broken, right, this entire range here, right? This was taken out weeks ago. Yeah, weeks ago. So to say that this is a big distribution and then to want this to come lower, in theory, makes no sense, right? Because our entire bias is bullish, especially because we've already created, right, a higher low technically, right? Because we've shown an unwillingness to continue lower here, right? So if we start testing these highs and we break structure, right, this is now your range that you're trying to play under. But who's to say this isn't the start of this bullish move, and who's to say we don't come back into this monthly candle, right? But the thing is that these moves take time, a lot of time, right? Since RCV opened up in April, right, we've barely had the beginning of this impulsive move, right? Because there's still potentially half of this move, potentially another move just like this to occur in order to break that structure there, right? But it's all theory because, right, it doesn't make sense to go one way, so it has to go the other way, right? So now coming back here, right, to say this is distribution goes against every single bias, right? It goes against my entire bias, right? And is that okay? That's fine, because at the end of the day, you have to be dynamic enough to understand both biases and go against them, right? But you also have to understand where your overall direction is, right? Because even if I catch a sell here to come lower, right, which I didn't because I'm willing to give away, I'm willing to not catch these moves to catch the overall bigger moves, which I'm in positions for here and here, right? I'm willing to wait this out because the potential move to the upside is so much more bigger, right? So if we break, right, these wicks here, definitely we'll see bullish structure, right? But this has to happen obviously through intraday moves, right? And as we discussed on Wednesday, this is your point of invalidation, right? This is the last time we saw a final impulse up, right? So in theory, if this breaks, right, we now look for bearish structure to continue, right? But my bias is to the upside, so I'm not trying to look for bearish signs unless, right, it fits my entire narrative, right? Because there's very good sell scenarios here and here, right? And Raj even showed you one in recognitions, right? But if you acknowledge your risk, that's completely fine. That's fine, as long as you understand what your overall picture is, right? And somebody pointed out this inefficiency here. Whoever did that, good job, very good, right? I personally wanted that continuation and I didn't get it, right? We all make mistakes. I'm not always right. Cool, whatever, move on. So, right, we have a reaction, right? This is not my invalidation point still, right? But now to me, this is now my invalidation in my zone of invalidation, I'm sorry, right? Because this, with our last push to the downside, that's not broken. We're now in bullish structure, hence continuation, structure continuation, right? So personally, I wouldn't like to see this start coming back, because if we start coming back here, right, unless we reject from an inefficiency or potential SC here, right, then if we start going deeper, right, then I now see this as a liquidity grab, which can then lead to potential structure shift. But for the most part, we know where directional bias is, right? And there's no reason to go against it because it doesn't fit the overall narrative, right? So that's all it's about. And if this really was a distribution, we would have already seen the entire move happen, right? We would have already seen this happen, right? And in terms of structure, right, this was your invalidation point in quotes of a swing move, right? Because this is considered one full swing move, right? But for the most part, people thought, right, this is your continuation, this broke your lower low, right? There's people that trade complex pullbacks and they think, oh, no matter what happens in here, right, this will reject and come down, which could still be the case, right? But it's taken way too long for me, right? The momentum, right, is definitely showing based off of this range, and this range is definitely showing that it's impulsive to the downside, but it doesn't fit my overall narrative, right? So you're now in a 50-50 position. So I'd rather trust my overall narrative, right, than these swing positions, well, these swing ranges, right? Does that make sense? Right, this was your move here. This should have been your continuation. If this distribution was valid, this would have tanked. But here, break of structure, right, that invalidates the entire bias, because now in theory it makes no sense, right? By all means, I could be wrong, right? This could obviously just turn around here, right? But based off the signs that were given, right, a big reason why I was also bullish on Wednesday, all right, so it was Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, right? We had these very two impulsive closures, right? Is that considered a morning star? I don't even care, but that is showing very bullish signs, right? We're on top of a range, and we have a daily closure right next to that, right? So in theory, it makes no sense to want to sell, right? Let's see. So this one's interesting too, right? We're pretty much at the climax of whether this is going to drop or moon, right? So looking at our daily, right, off the bat, right, there could be inefficiency fill here and a continuation lower, right? And if you look at our intraday time frames, we are technically still in bearish structure. Now the only thing that's genuinely bothering me here, right, is that it's taking so long, right? And I said that on Wednesday, right? And now the only real scenario that I would see is definitely filling inefficiency. And the only reason why I'm even considering wanting it to go this high is because we took levels of liquidity and mitigated something up here, right? So these were taken, right? So that means there's money here, right? There has to be something here, right? And the only reasonable excuse that I see for this coming back here is somewhere in here, right? Which sucks because my entry is actually somewhere here, but there's always the possibility that we can come back to return here, right? But this is now my point of invalidation for me, right? If this breaks and we start testing back up here, we now have an extremely deep retracement and relative equal highs, right? So if we reject now from here, right, I'd like to look for the hedge to go up. But it all depends on what happens here and when it happens. Right, but just keep in mind, we're still technically in bear structure. Other than that, I mean, those are the only two pairs I've been looking at this week. All right, that just goes to show, guys, you guys have seen me do this for months. I've traded probably 3 pairs at a time, and they've alternated between EG, GU, EU, AU, and GA. Right, and GA, I do hold positions on it, but it's something that I rarely touch, and that's just because the price action is so sloppy, which is why I don't really like going over it, because most of it is super confusing to me. Right, I don't like when pairs have so many wicks here, because then the order flow is very, very sloppy. Right, can you still have very, very good trades here? Of course, but from a teaching aspect, I don't really like it. Right, very, very sloppy. Then GU is also a confusing one. I'm not touching that one, honestly. I'm not touching this one. Right, I don't like how we just reacted from our weekly inefficiency, even though our closure is still technically an engulfing. Right, I don't like how we rejected from weekly inefficiency. Right, just keep in mind there's still relative equal highs here. And there's definitely money up here. Liquidity taken there. Right, I'm still bullish on this, right? The entire scenario is still in place, right? Pre-supply selling climax, automatic rally, secondary test phase B, spring test, optimism, not yet because we didn't clear highs, so I wouldn't consider optimism, but I would see it as a type of optimism because we left relative equal highs, right? And all this could be an LPS, right? So I would still be confident in LPS, right? Because technically this was our last move downwards. That's broken, right? So now I'm just looking for these continuations. Right, I'm still confident in that bias, just like I'm still confident in every other bias, bullish EU, bearish GU. I mean, bullish GU, bearish EG. It's just a matter of time. Right, does that make sense, guys? Does all that make sense? Any questions? Oh, fuck.
Yo, Fredo.
What's up?
EG. I was trying to see why, because like if you looked at it on the daily, it looked like it's reacting to like the 50%. So how come
You're talking here?
say that you could go all the way up there?
You're talking here?
The daily, it was like 3 days ago.
What time frame?
Yeah, on the daily. It looked like it had 50% of the daily.
Oh, here.
Yeah.
The only thing is, I never look for SCs in higher time frame. I just mainly use this for direction, but you're completely right, because this supports your intraday time frames, right? Oh, wow, I didn't even see that. I see this. I see it now. Right, you're seeing something here, potentially.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find a better wick here. So I'd like to see an up wick here. So let's see if we can find one. Yeah, cool. So this would be your inefficiency. Good eyes.
So how would you have played it? Because I think I looked back at it and I just had no clue how to
So
play
this happened literally, I think, right after my trading hours. Right, actually, I might be in a position in that. Let me see. Hold on. Let me check my MT4. Because if I am, I know exactly what you're talking about. No, I'm not in it. No, I'm not in it. And this was actually after, right? So the only way, right? This is your point of interest.
Yeah.
I'm gonna delete the fib. That's your point of interest, right? So automatically, right, you want to see what price action does going to it, what price action does during, right, and what price does to react to it, right? So in theory, right, I love seeing this. I love seeing a range before an impulsive move towards the POI, because usually the volume here is very shit. It's very, very unfavorable. Let's see, man. Right, so let's look at this. Oh, do you guys know how to take this off? I don't know how to take this off.
No clue.
Somebody here talked about it. Anybody know how to take that off? It's in your settings.
Yeah, it's in your settings.
Where?
Go to status line.
No, that's here. Scales.
Forget where. Sorry, appearance. Go to appearance. And then
navigation buttons.
Navigation button. Oh, there you go. Thank you. Always invisible. Right. So, right, we have a range forming before POI. Right.
Okay.
Something I like to see here. Right. This is now going into Wyckoff stuff. Right. You see this final push before the range starts. Right. This is now your buying climax because of the climactic behavior in volume. Right. So any move beyond that after this high volume is more than likely a diminishment in volume. Right. Keep in mind here, first test, diminishment, right, in comparison to this. So this is now the standard for the rest of the bullish volume, right? So any pushes up here, right, notice no volume behind it, right? The last push, very impulsive, no volume behind it, right? Even though here, technically there isn't a sign of optimism, you got to always consider this previous one. So this entire thing is diminishment, right? So now you touched your POI, right? Now you need an excuse, a reason to want to enter this trade, right? So we now tapped it, reacted it, right? We now have a pullback, right? Could have been an inefficiency fill that was here. Then this could have been a liquidity grab or a SC potentially in seconds time frames, right? But this last move here failed to create the higher high, right? So this is showing your unwillingness to continue higher, right? This is now a scalp break of structure, right? Actually, I'm sorry, that's a micro break of structure. This would be your scalping break of structure, right? So if you really, really wanted to take it here, it's very, very high risk because your scalping structure is still intact, right? But this is now your micro. This is your scalp, right? This would be considered an SC, right? And obviously my SL would be right above the high because in theory, the reaction should never be, the reaction should never take out the high here.
Gotcha.
Right, so this is, honestly, this is a very hard trade to catch. Very, very hard trade to catch. Is it realistic? Depends on your level of expertise, right? But even if you miss that, right, you now have a scalp break of structure here, right? You now have your low, your high, so you'd want, in theory, a premium, right? You get the reaction here, right? Obviously it's still in a discount, right? But then that leads to that break of structure. So if you miss this, right, you now have this high to this high. You want a continuation.
Oh, so you didn't have to wait for it to come back into premium after the scalping?
But you have to recognize though. You have to recognize the only way I'm taking this premium is the impulsive move here, right? If this pullback reaches up here, but it didn't, right? It only reached here, and that led to the next breaker structure.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. And so let me take this off. All right, perfection there. And this would be another 2 pip. This would be 1 pip, but obviously for me it's always a 2 pip majority of the time. Right, and that's already 5%, 6% up. Right, so the only issue with these trades, right, is because let's say, right, you got the continuation, right, you now have to take your partials, right, at a specific distance. Right? Why? Because let's say this is your low. Let's say this is your low, and this now decides to finally give that pullback up, right?
Yeah.
Even though your entry breaks even, you're now inside of a premium of this intraday range.
Okay.
Right, so it varies by scenario. It varies by scenario. Right, the only reason why I'm saying this on EG is because EG tends to not give that pullback post POS, and I've noticed that with countless missed trades. Right, I've noticed EG does not like that, and I'm like, well, fuck, right? So you have to improvise. All right, breaker structure continuation. Get your 6-7%, right? Unless you actually are aggressive with your stop, right? And you actually want to put it there. Let's say you don't have spread at the pip stop, and it's already 9-10%. Right?
Okay, cool.
Let's see. Yeah, other than that, I mean, nothing much on my end. I'm just being patient. Since we broke structure here, would definitely love to see worst case that, best case fly. All right, so hopefully the doodles make sense. Right, I could prepare, you know, hours ahead and show you guys every single setup of the week, blah blah blah, but I can't. I don't want to do that. Why? Because it sounds staged. I don't like sounding staged. I like being normal around you guys. But yeah, other than that, get to the announcement, I guess. Let's see in the settings. Yeah, cool. Nah, it's nothing crazy. Right, so right here's the well, first off I have to lay it out. Right, the first my initial intent, right, my initial intent when I launched RCV, right, in April was every 8 to 12 months to completely create new content, to wipe it clean and start over. Not start over, but add on, right, or add new content, right? And the reason why I did that was because I always run the risk of the initial information to be leaked, which is what happened, right? And the only way to have them lose their leverage on us is to add more stuff, right? So that's exactly what I'm going to do, right? The initial approach with RCV, right, was to give you guys a type of foundation in the course. I didn't want to give every little detail in the course because obviously I wanted to give the details on Zooms, and I wanted to give the details with DMs and with your experiences because I wanted to lay a foundation for you guys to then adapt the concepts and do your own thing with them, right? So for the most part, everything went as I expected. I did expect the course to be leaked eventually because we didn't have the security features intact, and that's obviously my fault. So which I wasn't too mad about that happening, right? Because I know the overall picture, right? It's like comparing this to trading, right? Let's say, right? It's just like this move here, right? I'm sad about the break evens, but I know my position is still there, and I know I can add another position, and I know my overall bias, right? So launch, right? Success, seeing results from some members, seeing more results from members, right? Leaked course, right? New light, right? This announcement 6 months from now, if you want to put it in that perspective. And oops. So right? Since RCV is, I started doing this at right around the 6 month mark. Right now we're getting close to the 7th month mark. Yeah, we are 6.5 months since launch, right? So my plan is to have a complete new set of videos alongside the added security features, right? But I have finished the overall layout, the overall rough draft. So I'm going to show you guys. So the only differences between this and what we've already had is the addition of detail, right? I've noticed the same mistakes from certain people, right? Honestly, from the majority of the group, because some people just, I can see it in the group chat, and then there's other people that don't necessarily talk much in the group chat. They just DM me. So let me guys know what you guys think. Damn. So this is going to be pretty much the new layout of the website. It's no longer going to be intermediate advanced, because I got so many stupid questions on the RCV page. Like, can I pay for one specific course? I'm like, bro, it's one course. And so hopefully this clears up everything. And then I have stuff that I have to, I'm gonna probably try to finish this best case in like 2 weeks, but worst case by the end of next month. So this should cover every single thing that I could possibly think of. But I'm not gonna talk about the content right now, right? I'm still making the notes for everything. So the people who just joined the RCV, you honestly joined at the best possible time. Outside of the time when I actually launch this or actually upload the videos. So yeah, I'm not gonna put the screenshot in the group chat because I know people will start sharing it, but I'm gonna just let the people watch the recording, and the people who watch the recording or watch the Zoom, they get to see everything. Yeah, so, but I mean, the only ones I could hint are definitely phase 2, anatomy, right? Showing you what microstructure is, what scalping structure is, what minor intraday, what major intraday, then swing, and obviously macro. And you guys are assuming this is free, or? Don't worry, guys, it's free. I'm not gonna ask you guys for more bread. You guys literally went silent for a good 10 seconds. Nah, let me tell you guys something. If anybody ever charges you for more than what they originally offered, they either need your money or they need your money. just be straight up about it. Right? The only reason why I would ever charge you guys for this is if I needed the money. So yeah, I've never ever seen any course seller or any IG mentor add new stuff for free. So hopefully you guys appreciate that. But yeah, oh, and also, once this is released, this is the the one-on-one start. The one-on-one start as soon as this comes out, right? So the one-on-ones, right? The only reason I'm charging for those is because those weren't part of the original package, and because I want to be motivated to actually give somebody my time. Honestly, like, I'm just being straight up. I can't sit down and listen to people's issues, whether it's personal trading, for an hour, 2 hours, for nothing, honestly. And that's just me being real with you guys. Heard signals too. I heard, what are signals? You're talking about phone signal? I'm on 4 bars. And I want to be honest with you guys. I don't want to sugarcoat anything, right? Must be nice. I got LTE. No, but yeah. So one-on-ones start right after this launches. Like literally as soon as this launches. Probably like a day or two after, because I want you guys to watch everything before. But these videos are going to be pretty detailed. Like if I'm going to be honest, these are probably going to be like 10-minute videos. Majority of them. Except maybe the phase 7. But yeah. You're gonna redo all of them? Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. It wouldn't make sense for me to use the old videos to put it here. It wouldn't make sense. They wouldn't fall together. Juan Signal, when I first joined, paid for the entire course. Must be nice. I'm broke. I'm poor. Yeah, other than that, let's see. Who's actually on the call? Anthony's on here. Christian. Got a couple low-key people in here. Alright. Orlando, I think you just joined. Harsh, Gover. See, Reese is on here. I see you on a lot of calls. I know you work hard behind the scenes. Let's see who else. Pete, I hope you got my DM. Sergio Goat. No. Cool. We're still recording, guys. The recording hasn't fucked up. But yeah. By the way, how do you guys like the layout of the Zooms? You know, I try to make the Zooms anywhere from 20 minutes to 40 minutes, just because I don't want to lose my voice, for one. And two, I don't like ranting on. Even though I do it sometimes, I don't like doing it. Ireland in full lockdown, so this content is coming at the right moment. Damn. Oh, they actually y'all are going into lockdown? I heard a lot of European countries are getting wave 2 and they aren't shutting down. Oh, really? That's crazy. So there'll be a layout. By the time this, I mean, I'm honestly only doing it. The one-on-ones are obviously for people who are 6 to 8 weeks in. But by the time this comes out, you'll probably be very close. It's 10 p.m. 10 p.m. Dang. You guys have a curfew? What? Damn. Yeah, read process. Chipotle's not allowing people in again. Damn, that's crazy. Bro, everybody's gonna get it. Everybody's gonna get it. I don't know, bro. I don't know. COVID is a really biased topic. But yeah, other than that, I think we can end it off here. Yeah, so I'm gonna be working on this all day today. After UFC 254, the main card starts in an hour. So after that's done, I'll probably be working on this every day for like the next couple weeks. Khabib, yeah, Khabib is your safe bet, 100%. I really want to see how Justin performs. Round one will show you the entire fight, to be honest. Round 1 and 2. I don't know what Trello is. As long as your journal has the pictures instead of the trading view links, I'm cool with it. Because I don't like having to click the links and then save the images and then paste them onto the PDF. It takes way too long, especially on my iPad, because I like to actually draw on markups. But yeah, other than that, I think we can end it off here. Yeah, man, no worries.